Hey guys, Kaz here, and today I'm doing a little bit of a talky video, a little bit of a throwing some thoughts out to you guys, and that is just the fact that I don't DNF books. I'm putting this in my No Offence series, although I'm sure we can all agree this is the least controversial topic in here that I'll probably ever talk about, but you know, no offence, I'm not saying that people that do DNF books are wrong, so yes. So apparently when people do discussion videos, they tell you really obvious things like DNF stands for did not finish, just in case you don't know. So now you do know. And a lot of people do it. And that is fine, great, dandy, good for them. I know some people have the thought that if I'm not enjoying it after a certain percent or after a certain amount of pages, then I'm just gonna move on. We don't have all of the years in the world to read. We only have as many as we have, so why would we read something that we don't enjoy? And that is a fair comment. But my penchant to not DNF sort of has several different reasonings. And the first one is I know my reading tastes. And that sounds like a really obvious thing. Obviously you should read things that you know you're going to enjoy, but it's not necessarily how it goes with some people. So for instance, I know that I enjoy fantasy, but I also know that if it's about some sort of royalty or princess, queen, whatever, I'm probably not going to be really that bothered about it. That's why I've never read Red Queen or the Selection series or Three Dark Crowns or the Glittering Court. I'm sure they're all enjoyable reads, but it's something that I just don't gravitate towards, so I don't pick it up. Which of course helps when not DNFing books, because you read stuff that you enjoy. But this isn't the case for a lot of people. I see, especially in the goals videos at the beginning of the year, things like that, that people seem to mention, oh, this year I need to read more classics because we should read them because they're classics. My reading tastes, I don't care for classics. I'm not going to say I don't like them because I don't read them to know if I like them or not, but I'm not going to read Jane Eyre or Pride and Prejudice or Sense and Sensibility. I have no interest in that, so I'm not going to force myself to read it just because classics are classics and we should read classics. It's not for me. On the flip side, I have read stuff by George Orwell or Anthony Burgess, more modern classics, because I find them interesting. Non-fiction. People will try and read these really heavy, dry, very informative but not very interesting non-fictions and then wonder why they either DNF it or get a bit slumpy or it takes a long time. I only read non-fiction about things that I enjoy and actively want to know about. So I think it's kind of an obvious point, but a lot of people don't seem to do it. And this also links in with my second point. I don't listen to hype. So I'm sure you've all seen it a million times. There's a book coming out in a couple of months. Everybody on BookTube raves about it. It's the most anticipated book for so many people. And then it comes out and it's either disappointing or average or okay, and everyone forgets about it. I don't read these books. I definitely think there's a penchant on here to pick up these books that are really popular that everyone's talking about, that you don't necessarily actively enjoy the specific genre or that specific type of book, but because everyone's talking about it and because it's the new release that's hot off the press and that's what people want you to do videos on, you read it, you don't like it, and this is fine if that's what you want to do, but that's not something that I do. I'm not going to read stuff just because it's popular and it's the thing that's going to get more people onto my channel. I'm not saying that that's why other people do read these popular books, but it is another way for me to read things that are not going to make me want to DNF them because I see a book, people talk about it, I think it's probably not going to be for me, and I step away. This seems like something that happens quite a lot on here. Not necessarily DNFing, but a lot of people will be pretty disappointed in books that they've hyped up for themselves for a whole year. It's on the top of their want to read pile. They're so excited about it. They do a million videos saying this is going to be the best book ever, I'm going to enjoy this so much. And then it comes to reading it and they don't. So for me, reading a lot of obscure shit or just things that I know that I'm going to be interested in, I don't have that pressure, that hype, that already formed opinion in my head that I'm going to love it. In fact, some books that I absolutely adore, I didn't really have that thought going in. For example, The Song of Achilles. Because this is historical fiction, I thought, it'll probably be enjoyable. I might quite like it. Loved it. Gave it 5 stars. Cried a lot. It was amazing. Don't hype books up too much for yourself. You'll just be disappointed. The next point is I don't get offended by anything. There's nothing off limits for me. There's no topic that's going to make me go, actually, I'm putting that down because that's horrific. So I think that helps my reading, because I do read a lot of dark, intense, taboo shit, to be fair. I don't know how common it is, but on Goodreads a lot, if you see a DNF, someone will say, oh, they said a specific phrase, or they were sexist or racist or homophobic this one time in the book, so I'm not going to carry on the book to find out whether that character sees justice or whether that's just a personality trait, which is acceptable. I don't know why people act like people can't have negative character traits, but that's a totally different video. For me, there's nothing I'm going to read in a book that's going to make me go, bloody hell, I'm not reading that, that's disgusting. I'll read it, you know? I have 6 cats. I read a book once that had a cat being tortured and killed for like 5 pages. It proper went into detail, and I finished that book, you know? It's just who I am. And the final reason is that I'm stubborn. There you go. I just don't like not finishing books. And sometimes that's a good thing. I'm reading a book and I think, I'm gonna get to the end and I really enjoy it. Sometimes it can be not the greatest. I'll read a book, I'll not really enjoy it, I'll carry on reading it, still didn't really enjoy it. But that's just the kind of reader I am. For example, The Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan. I wasn't a massive fan of this. I was reading it, I thought, oh, this is very time consuming, it's too long, it's boring, I don't like any of the characters. Guess what? Finished it. They just finished this. Boom, I read the other 2 books in this trilogy as well. Did I enjoy it? Not particularly. I gave this 2 stars. In fact, this was my worst book of 2017, I think. Not necessarily because it was the literal worst book I read, but because it was most disappointed, because I love Rick Riordan's work. But if I hadn't have read it, I wouldn't have known that it was terrible. And now I can tell you guys to stay away from this trilogy. But even with The Red Pyramid, there was never a point while reading that book when I actively thought about DNFing it. There is, however, 2 books that I genuinely had thoughts of, you know what, I might have to actually put this down for the first time ever. It might have to happen. And those 2 books are Half Bad and The 5th Season. The 5th Season is the reason I'm making this video, because I just finished this one recently. And the whole point of me doing Tome Infinity and Beyond, kind of the main reason that I thought, you know what, I definitely will do that readathon, is because for Team Natural Disaster, this was the book that we had to read, and I wanted a reason to finish this book. I put it down at 170 pages a couple of months ago, and I thought, even when I picked it back up for this readathon, that it might genuinely be the first DNF I've ever had. And that would have been what this video was about if I did actually DNF it, but I didn't. Half Bad, this was the first book I ever thought, I'm not sure about this, I kind of want to put it down. And the reason I carried on with this book is because I was on a train and I didn't have another book with me, and I think it was Leeds Festival, so I had another 3 days. So, read this book, and guess what? Both of these books, the only 2 books that I've ever thought about DNFing. The reason is the same. Second person writing. So you can bet your bottom dollar I'm never going to be reading that book, because that's all in second person. These 2 books, I'd never heard anyone mention the fact that was in second person. But more importantly than the thought of putting them down is this. The Half Bad trilogy is one of my favourite series of all time. I absolutely adore this series. And on the reread, I realised at the beginning the second person was probably about 5 pages, but in my mind when I was reading it, it was for about 50 because I hate it that much. But I didn't put it down, I didn't DNF it, and I love this series. The 5th Season, when I picked this back up, part of me thought, I'm picking it back up, but I might actually genuinely 100% DNF it, because when I put it down at 170 pages, I didn't in my head think, I'm never going to pick it back up. as you can tell, because I purposefully went to natural disaster to read this book. But before I picked it back up, I thought, right, I'm gonna try, and if it's that bad, I'm gonna actually have my first ever DNF. And you know what? I flew through the rest of it, quite enjoyed the series. I still only gave it 3 stars because I put it down for a couple of months, and you can't give it 4 stars really after that, because it was really annoying at the beginning. But genuinely enjoyed it, and will definitely be carry on with the series. I own both of them, I want to read them, and now I actually know that I want to read them rather than just forcing myself because I'm stubborn. Point 4. So what has this video actually achieved? Not a lot really, but I wanted to talk about how I feel about DNFing, how I don't do it, and I would love to know in the comments what you think about DNFing books, and whether you think one of the points or a few of the points that I brought up are the reasons behind why you do DNF books if you do actually DNF them, or do you just have a specific 50 pages in, if I'm not enjoying it, boom, gone, let's move on. Let me know down below. If this is your first video by me and you enjoy it, please check out some of the others, and if you continue to enjoy, then please subscribe, that'd be awesome. Anyway guys, I'll see you in a few days with another video. Bye.